Stuffing Kurosawa, the Friendly Film Grit podcast. I'm your host, Ben Filipkowski, resident film freak.
And I am Farrah Sarpkaya, a person who loves film, but like in a super chill, I too enjoy a liver served with nice Chianti sort of way.
That's my Hannibal sound. Probably just sounds terrible on microphone.
It sounded like nothing in Google Meet.
Incredible.
So we'll see if it comes through on the recording later.
Yeah. Today we are discussing 1991's The Silence of the Lambs, directed by Jonathan Demme and based on the Thomas Harris novel of the same name. The movie stars Jodie Foster, Ted Levine, Scott Glenn, and of course, Anthony Hopkins in a career-defining role. Foster plays Clarice Starling, a star FBI trainee recruited by behavioral science boss Jack Crawford, played by Glenn, to help in the ongoing investigation into the serial killer known as Buffalo Bill. Buffalo Bill is murdering young women and removing their skin, and the case is slowly going cold. To get a leg up, Crawford asks Starling to go to the Baltimore State Hospital for the criminally insane to interview a brilliant psychiatrist. Only problem? The psychiatrist is the infamous Dr. Hannibal Lecter, imprisoned there because he himself is a serial killer and cannibal. That's the first twist of this movie. The plan is thus: get Hannibal to provide psychological insights into the Buffalo Bill case under the guise of a standard psychological interview. At the hospital, Starling meets the unsettling Dr. Lecter, as played by Hopkins, who almost immediately susses out the ulterior motive and begins a mental game of cat and mouse with her, sharing cryptic insights in exchange for stories of Starling's own traumas and history. Starling and the FBI chase down leads, and as Buffalo Bill abducts the daughter of a U.S. senator, the pressure is on to find the killer before it's too late. Meanwhile, Dr. Lecter has plans of his own. Ahead of any discussion, I do want to flag two things. First, this is a movie that deals with violence against women, so we will be talking about some of the depictions of that. And in addition, this is a film from 1991 based on a novel from 1988, and its representation of the LGBT community is fraught, to say the least. While the movie makes some overtures to support this community, it nonetheless engages in some dated and harmful stereotypes. For all of these topics, listener discretion is of course advised, and we've included some links in the show description to resources if you want to learn more. All that being said, problematic themes aside, I think this is still one of my favorite movies, and it kind of nails a tone and vibe that the sequels and prequels miss entirely, and there are just some incredible performances in it that I find hypnotic, I suppose. Like, this is one of those movies where if it's on, I'm putting the remote down, so to speak, and I'm just watching it all the way through. So far, have you seen this before? Had you seen this before? And what do you think of it?
Yes, at least once, probably multiple times. I will point out, your summary said that they sent Starling to go talk about Buffalo Bill, but they didn't.
Yes.
I mean, they did, but they didn't tell her that. But yeah, it's been a hot minute since I watched it, I think. But I've also seen the prequel Red Dragon before. And I always feel weird saying that I enjoy it because it's not quite an enjoyment thing.
Right?
It's excellent acting. The sets are really cool. The cat and mouse that goes on, the set dressings are really beautifully done, et cetera, et cetera. The camera work is rad, which we'll talk about later. But like, it's real dark.
Oh yeah.
The thing that I noticed most on this watching, though, because we tend to just leave closed captions on by default, is that it kind of ruined it in a lot of ways. Because we do so much work with like really close up camera, and then there's just text on the bottom half of someone's face.
Yeah.
No. So yeah, I mean that's. It's weird that that's the thing I brought out of it today, but I think that gives us a great segue into what we're talking about this movie today, which is, we're going to kick it off, I think, a little bit with perspective, like point of view, literal point of view, and male and female gaze, because the director does a lot to, literally we get a lot of close-ups of faces and eye contact with the camera, which, let me tell you, as someone who's neurospicy and doesn't like eye contact, is like a whole experience now that I'm older and understand why I have that feeling. So, Ben, talk to us a little bit about what it is with this eye contact that makes it so gripping? Hypnotic is the word I think you used.
Yeah, I think, like, this is a movie that uses character perspective very literally. It's not like this subjective. What am I trying to say here? It's not like that kind of limited third person where we're seeing the character and what they're observing. We are literally their eye line quite frequently in this. And most frequently, we are Clarice's eye line. I think it's the opening where she is called into Crawford's office. Every shot of her speaking to Crawford, she is looking like the actress is looking over the camera. Jodie Foster's eye line is above the camera or past the camera. Every shot of Crawford, Scott Glenn is playing Jack Crawford, speaking to Starling, is looking directly into the camera, like full eye contact with the lens, as though he is speaking to us, the audience. And it kind of puts us into Clarice's shoes in a very literal way. And this happens again and again and again. We see a lot of shots like this. And in fact, I think it's Clarice's first visit to Hannibal is her perspective again, as she, like, not really rounds the corner, but as she kind of comes into his eye line and vice versa. And he's just standing in that deeply unsettling way, as though he's been, like, watching her through the walls and just says hello. Yeah, the movie really plays with perspective. And I think my read on it, and I'm saying this as, you know, as a tall white guy, is that it's like it puts you in the shoes of this smaller woman, of this woman who is quite literally, just by virtue of her being like a head and a half shorter than almost every character, looked down upon by all the men around her. And we get some, like, little bits and pieces of men not so subtly checking her out, either in those moments of, like, a wide shot where Clarice is on screen with these men, or where we are kind of in her gaze, in her perspective, and seeing these men kind of, like, size her up, and the looks that they give her. And that to me is, like, something that really stands out for in this movie. I think it's a really incredible sort of thematic technique, storytelling technique. It gives us a lot about character, a lot about setting, and a lot about kind of what's going on in this story in a really quick and subtle way.
I would agree, except that I don't know if it's that subtle. Like, I had a very similarly themed experience when I saw Wonder Woman, which is a weird thing to say, perhaps. But as a short beige woman, I'm Turkish Italian. I experience the world in a way, and when I saw Wonder Woman, there was something very powerful about seeing a woman who looked more like me be powerful and epic. And then in this film, seeing the movie from her perspective made it feel very... Is familiar the right word? Kind of. Because there's a moment very early on as she's making her way to the office that she's in an elevator just surrounded by dudes who are like a head and a half or two heads taller than her. And it's just her. They're all in like red sweaters and she's just in her workout gear.
Yeah.
And that feeling is very familiar.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when we worked in an office together, your sitting desk was as high or higher than my standing desk. Yeah. Like, you know, and having that be a perspective that not just I experience in my everyday, but having the viewer, who could be, you know, a very tall white guy, something that they experience is, I think, a excellent storytelling tool to drive empathy.
Yeah.
As well, to really put into perspective the power discrepancy, even if she is a, you know, kick butt FBI agent or pre-FBI agent, she's still in training, who can very clearly hold her own physically. Like we first meet her on the running track or whatever, with like the climbing all the things and the whatnot. But there's still that sense that even if it is not necessarily warranted, she is still perceived as vulnerable, perhaps, in this society in which we find ourselves.
Yeah. I think, and just to be clear, when I'm calling it subtle, I think I'm referring more to, like, I think the overall effect is a subtle one. The technique is not. Like, the technique is pretty blatant. It's one of the most remarkable things about the film. I think this does a really good job of making, I think, the viewer as uncomfortable as the characters, or, you know, as uncomfortable as the characters. I don't think there's a moment where this technique is used to make someone feel at ease or at home, except for when Barney shows up. Barney's introduction, because it's like all Clarice's first person of, like, gotta check in. There's one guard with, like, he's loading a gun, and there are like 20 guns on the wall. And then she turns, and here's Barney just smiling and like, hey, I'm Barney.
Yeah.
I'm here to help. And Barney, best character in this movie by far. I think, like, the little tricks of eye line that they do are so interesting and engaging. And I think there's a bit where I think I tricked myself into believing something based on something that Hannibal says, because like, all of Crawford's initial interactions with Starling are very, like, at the most paternalistic.
Yeah.
At the most, he's being like a mentor / loose father figure. Crawford, what am I saying? Hannibal implies that, oh, well, Crawford actually wants to sleep with Starling. And then I convinced myself that there was, like, a change in how Crawford behaves around her. And I was like, hang on, is there an actual, does he actually do anything? Does he have that, like, up and down glance at any point? And I don't think he does. But it was, like, a really compelling sort of, like, I am uncomfortable now because of, like, because of what this character has said.
It's so interesting, because I think that's particularly powerful in a world where I have to do that math. I have had to do that math my whole life. And forcing the audience to also do that math, even if they're not necessarily aware of it, is a very interesting way to make you uncomfortable. Because, like, when you're constantly questioning the motives of everyone, even the people that you are supposed to trust the most in the whole world, you know, that puts you not on good, even footing. Like, it really, really is not great for your mental health. Let me tell you. But yeah, I mean, that also just speaks to the effectiveness of Hannibal and how much we are exposed to his perspective, literally and figuratively, because every shot of him is even closer.
Yeah.
Like Crawford, we still get pretty much a full face frame, whereas Hannibal is, like, tight shot, like, almost cutting off his chin and his forehead sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'm making hand gestures on an audio only podcast. It's very silly. I'm voguing. Very slowly. But yeah, no, it's, because he makes you doubt, like, everything because You also messaged me while I was watching it, and you're like, Hannibal never blinks. And I'm like, yes, he does. I'm literally watching a scene where he blinks. But he doesn't blink very much. So I'll concede part of a point. But he does give a very distinct impression of unsettlingness that comes from someone who doesn't blink as much as you expect them to.
Yeah.
So.
Very steady and controlled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that bit. You're talking about that shot towards the climax of the movie where Clarice sees him in. It's like it's like a legislature building, like some government office that he's being held in now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like the camera, Hannibal's always looking directly into the camera when he talks to, or at least for the most part, is looking directly into the camera when he talks to Starling. And this is one of those moments where the camera shifts, and suddenly she's looking directly into the camera as she talks to him. And I think it's like the first time that actually happens.
Mm-hmm.
And the camera gradually gets closer on Starling until she has like the full kind of portrait face shot. Yeah. But yeah, Hannibal, it keeps cutting in and in and in until it is just his sinister staring face, and he's pushing her to reveal more information. That's like such a we've now, this is the third time that we're going to use the word hypnotic, but yeah, I was like I knew that was coming, and I was like, oh damn, this still catches me off guard. Okay.
I mean, that scene also starts with her being on the other side of the room and him in this cage in the middle of a very large room. And as we are going from her perspective, we're walking into it, seeing the broad space while he is speaking to her. Like, he's not even looking in her direction. She moves towards him.
Yeah.
And that movement feels very, like it dials up the tension really nicely.
Yeah.
And it's so different from how we have engaged with him prior to this as well, that it's that unsettling moment of, oh God, there's something wrong with our engagement here, with our interactions, because this is not what it's been since that, which I thought was really neat.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I feel like we could talk a lot about explicit POV, but I think like this is probably a good opportunity to move into discussing like the concept of gaze, and specifically male gaze. This GAZE. And this is the idea. I have a handy definition because this is one of those things that's always like a wonky. How do you quickly define this? Yeah, it's the idea that the default perspective in arts, literature, culture, etc., is a masculine, heteronormative one, and one that frequently objectifies women. So this is like we're talking about the scenes where we are getting, you know, these characters checking out Starling. We're getting these scenes where you have male characters being very dismissive of Starling. I think that's like some of the guards before Hannibal's breakout are guilty of that. All of I think it's the county police, the county sheriff's office at the victim's home. The funeral home, I believe. Yeah. They are all just like deep in the jurisdiction friction thing going on. They want to take charge, but it's, you know, FBI jurisdiction. And Clarice gets left with all of the like rank and file, I guess, state troopers, while Crawford does the like, this is not what he says, but he basically says like, this ain't for the women folk, and goes off with the sheriff. And then all of these men are just staring at Starling like, FBI and a woman? God, what is this?
Golly.
Yeah.
Well, we also get it flipped on its head just a scene or two later when Starling and Crawford are about to investigate the body of Bill's previous victim.
Yeah.
Where she stands kind of on the other side of the body and just says very politely but firmly in a way that I find very familiar, because I found myself doing it at times, to be like, all right, boys,
Yeah.
this is you've done so much good work and done so much to help this woman. It's time for you to go. And like couching her order in all of the Southern feminine politeness she has been raised to hold. And that literally has we are looking up on all of these cops who are taller than her, but they also look at her, and there's a sense of, it's not quite chivalry, but it's a sense of like, oh yeah, this is not even women's work, but it feels like she's couched that order so gently and politely that they don't feel like they can push back.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
You know?
It kind of like ties into like the tropes of like kind of like the matriarch in a way. Like they're in the house, and now like this woman is politely giving them orders, and they're all like, oh well, that's what we do now. This is and
but it's also modesty too, right? Because they're about to look at a naked woman, and she's like, this isn't for the gentlemen, this isn't for the boys, out you go. Like,
it's like an appeal to tradition,
and
but also she's like weaponizing, she's really deploying and cranking up her West Virginian accent, and like just really leans into it there in a way that she downplays her accent in a lot of the rest of the movie, and turns it up here, which is kind of like, it's a good little play. And then we get that bit later in the car where Crawford is like, hey, when I did that I was just blowing smoke. Like, you have to do it for these country bumpkins sometimes. You get that. And she's like, I wrote it down because I thought it was like a really good it matters, Mr. Crawford. Cops look to you to see how to act. It matters. I thought that was like, that's a cool line to include. Like, it's a really good bit to include.
It is.
Yeah.
Because it's so true of like, and this is true of any man in any kind of position with his peers or with people below him, where you are each other's, guidance, right? And as much as I can say, treat me equally, if other men aren't treating me equally, it's harder to fight the fight alone, as it were. Yes, I am a feminist. How could you tell? And like, the thing is too, this movie goes into chivalry in a lot of different ways, because like, Hannibal kills a man for disrespecting Starling.
To be clear, assaulting her, like,
yes, very much so. And later on, she's not afraid of him, because as she tells her female colleague, he would find that very rude to come after me. Like, I'm not worried about it. And you're like, what an interesting code of conduct that this man has, which if I dig really deep into it and I get really philosophical, I think there's a narrative there around how a lot of people, dare I say, a lot of men have weird lines that they will or will not cross. And Hannibal is just a more dramatic version of that, which
the serial killer with a code.
Right, like, oh, it would be very rude of me to go after the FBI agent who I've had some, interesting conversations with, but I can rip the face off of this cop, no problem. Like, oh my God, sir, what?
It's so odd, because I think like Hannibal is generally chivalrous, but it also kind of like relies on mutual respect. Like, if you treat him with dignity and respect, he will do the same to you, which is why Barney is like they are on the best of terms. Barney is like the one orderly who seems to have Hannibal's actual respect, who Hannibal will never try anything with. And it's because Barney has that there is that shared respect. It's like, yeah, like you are a bad person and a murderer, but I'm not going to be rude to you. I'm not going to be abusive to you. I'm not going to, etc., etc. Which, like, tellingly, like, there's the bit where I think it's Chilton has learned that Clarice has been having these like conversations with Hannibal about things outside of just interviewing Hannibal about his own psychology. And Chilton has Hannibal in the restraints, and Barney is next to him, and Chilton's kind of like lording it over Hannibal, and Barney is like as offended as everyone else should be. He's like, this is not right. You shouldn't be treating him this way. This is not fair. Like, I really enjoy that, and I think that's kind of like in that, I guess, that code of like that strange code of ethics that kind of pops up in this movie now and then. It's there are a lot of people, there are a lot of men in this movie who are trying to be the heroic do right figure and wind up doing more harm than good. Like I think Paul Krenler is one of those FBI heads who seems only concerned with like appearing to do the right thing for the cameras, and taking credit for things. Yeah. Yeah. Where was I going with this thought? Yeah.
I don't know what I want to talk about with them, but the etymologists.
Oh, they rule.
Entomologists are delightful. And there's something about the interaction that they have with Starling that feels really refreshing compared to the interaction she has with almost everybody else, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Because one of them actively hits on her,
Yeah.
but he does it in like, she shuts him down and she's like, okay.
Yeah.
He doesn't like press the issue. He isn't gross about it. He just like, he shoots his shot. She says she basically rebuffs him, but like in that nice sideways way that you do. And she's like, all right, that's it.
Yeah.
I tried. And I appreciated that a lot.
It's so refreshing because he's so direct.
Yeah.
He's like, so what do you do when you're not being an FBI agent? She's like, well, I try and be a student. And he's like, do students ever
Drink
go and
beer,
have cheeseburger and beers?
Yeah.
And she's like, sometimes. And then he is her date at the very end, which is delightful. Also, one of the etymologists is Bulldog from Frasier, which delights me. It's just Dan Butler, love that guy.
3 degrees of separation from Frasier,
Yeah.
always.
Yeah.
I will say, which is kind of fun and cool, that at one point they do a perspective shift from the butterfly, not the butterfly,
The
moth cocoon,
Yeah.
chrysalis,
yeah.
to the 3 of them looking at it, and it felt really X-Files, and I'm not quite sure why. But I just had such an X-Files moment in my head.
It's because Clarice is a redhead. Scully's a redhead.
Yeah.
And then there are I think it's the lone gunmen from the X-Files. It feels like the lone gunmen from X-Files, like the 3 nerds that they kind of work with often are just like, we need another guy. Let's just take the guys from Silence of the Lambs and add another guy. And there we go.
Yeah. Clarice does have a lot of Scully vibes throughout the whole thing. Just a little younger.
Yeah.
Which I guess that tracks. But oh goodness.
Yeah. There's just so many like good bits and man.
Now it is now headcanon that one day Starling changes her name and goes to work for the X-Files.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. It's interesting use of camera work too. I'm just picturing how they filmed that also. Like,
yeah.
Because the cameras were big. and just like three nerds staring down into a camera lens, and then just this giant camera on this chrysalis as other people manipulate like the scalpel or whatever.
Yeah.
It just abuses me, and I'm not sure why.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm tired.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah, movie good, turns out.
Movie
good.
is good.
And one of the best things about movie good being good is Anthony Hopkins, actor good. Good actor.
Oh my God, so good.
Some might say a best actor. And in fact, the Academy did say that.
Yes.
Yeah, let's talk a bit more about like Hannibal and the kind of trope of the I think you have a good way of putting it in our notes here. The high class intelligent killer.
Yes.
That sort of trope.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how that reads to you.
I think there's it is not new with Silence of the Lambs, to be sure, and it has been done a million times since, but there's a very common, this person is very smart, very calculated, very cultured in a way of, they listen to opera, they go to art galleries, they can tell when a musician does poorly in a performance, etc. They can memorize the Duomo and redraw it by hand from memory. And also a ruthless murderer. And here's how. Like, we get this too in like The Blacklist, but he's a criminal more so than just a murderer, right? And the way that Hopkins deploys this very chilling, very calculated murderer it makes the murder part kind of incidental, to the point where when he does actually do all the gruesome murder stuff later on in his little casing situation, it's jarring because you kind of forget that he is this ruthless murderer. And that dichotomy, I think, works really well the way they've deployed it, because those acts of violence he commits are so out of left field with the person that we have been engaging with this whole time. Which I think is very impactful. Yeah. Especially if you're, if we're Clarice, our only engagement, like, we know in theory that he's a cannibal, that he has killed people, but we've never seen it, and that's not our perspective of him, because he's been nothing but kind to us. Yeah. So.
Yeah, he's he is this really engaging figure, but and because of that mutual respect that he develops with Starling, it is so easy to forget, as you've just said. But I think it's also like worth noting that like his introductory scene is him mocking Starling. Like he gradually, I think the second that they start conversing, he starts injecting more and more of the twang of her accent into his own speaking voice. And he sees through the whole ruse that they have set up, because like she is sent to get the information, the insights about Buffalo Bill, under the guise of the interview. And he's like, really, if you're going to do this, at least just ask me the questions you want to ask me. I like the whole, like, what's he say? He's like, you look like a rube, like just like mocking her relentlessly. And it's only after she leaves and is assaulted by the other prisoner, Miggs. And this is the one time that Hannibal raises his voice in the movie. He shouts for her to come back. Like his treatment of her seems to turn on a dime at that point. and I don't know. I wonder if it's just like it is just the villainous virtue, but we're not really given an explanation for why he uh decides to like do such an about face other than like he cannot abide rudeness. And
Hmm.
it's like, well, yeah, like calling that rudeness is, yes, it's rude. It's a whole lot worse than rude, to be fair. So
Yes.
yeah, I think it's
I
interesting.
mean,
He's such a fascinating character who looms large in pop culture, and I
mhm.
think it is that kind of like that code and those virtues that keep people coming back. But yeah, there's a lot to unpack, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is to an extent um a, not a curiosity, but he's bored,
Yeah,
right? So he gives her something. He gives her basically a test to see if she's clever enough to figure out what he's on about, and she figures it out. And then he's like, "Oh, okay. Great.
yeah,
Now I can keep playing with this toy that has been delivered unto me." Um And that's such a, again, not new here necessarily, and has certainly been done a million times since, but like the idea that there is this killer or criminal or what have you that finds someone who can match their cleverness. It's the Moriarty and Holmes
yeah,
problem, right? Moriarty cannot exist without Holmes. Holmes cannot exist without Moriarty. Starling and Lecter cannot exist without each other, or at least some version of each other, because what does a, you know, psychiatrist for the FBI have to do if there are no criminal masterminds to catch them? Who is the criminal mastermind going to play against if no one's smart enough to figure out his tricks?
yeah,
And that, you know, if not for the grace of God, perhaps Starling would have gone a different way.
yeah,
Right? Who knows?
yeah. Yeah, such a like, and I think also like worth calling out, this is like the birth of the consulting the criminal
Mm,
trope
such a trope.
in many ways. Like,
Yeah.
and it's easy to forget just how like for a good chunk of the '90s, the shorthand for like dangerous criminal that should be watched at all costs was to like have them done up in the straitjacket with the little mask
Oh,
over their
God.
mouth.
Yeah.
It pops up in The Simpsons a bunch. They yeah, I really enjoy the kind of like repartee that we get between these two characters, but
Mhm.
um, I'm not sure where I'm going with this right now. Folks,
I
it's
mean, it
been
has been a
yeah,
very, because it was so well acted by Hopkins and
yeah,
Foster, respectively, it has loomed large as a
yeah,
cultural
yeah,
touchstone. Again, I don't actually know if this was the first instance of this thing. I doubt it, particularly because it was in a book in the 80s. So,
yeah,
like, I'm sure it's been done before. But this is the one that really looms large as the one that people know and remember and has influenced so many other media tropes,
yeah,
going forward to today. It's over 30 years old now.
yeah.
40 years, 30 years old? Because
35,
91,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
91.
And tis a year younger than me. And it's, I mean, it's referenced so much, just so much. Even my quip at the top is, because apparently this is just what I do now, a make some noise reference. And just, it's silly. So silly that it's everywhere. But yeah, I don't know. There's something too about, there's this kind of in tandem trope that we see, and I think we talked about it a bit with 2 or 3 movies ago of the not officially neurodivergent, but neurodivergent male genius character that runs in tandem to this in a way that I can't quite put my finger on because I haven't thought through it enough. But I think it's really interesting that we want these anti-heroes, we want these villains with a code. And there's something appealing about that in our stories.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we know he is a murderer. He literally eats people. He kills them and he consumes them.
Yeah.
But also, isn't that nice? He killed the guy that assaulted Starling. Isn't that nice? He's giving her clues and mentoring her and teaching her and asking her and, investigating her as a person because he wants to get to know her. But, like, it's very selfish. But, like, there's a weird sort of we want to like him. And then it's jarring when he does the thing we know that he does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's also a part of us that's like, I don't think the guards that he murders are actually that rude. They're not even really like, they're just a little standoffish and kind of, But in my mind, like, I was just thinking about this, like, it's like, and then he kills those jerk guards, and it's like, well, no, they're just guys doing their job. They're not actually jerks. So
that one guard was actually, like, he says, Lecter says, mind the pictures that he's drawn. So the guard puts the tray down to move the pictures so he doesn't get them dirty. And, like, he doesn't have to do that. He could be a jerk about it.
And it's also his second dinner. Like,
they brought him lamb.
Yeah.
Like,
so
darn.
Yeah, like, man. Like, I think the one thing that they say is that I think it's Boyle is one of the guards. Is like, I demanded another dinner, so now we have to bring him another dinner. And he's just like annoyed that they have to do the whole rigmarole again. God, yeah. Boy, that scene is just like chilling, and I don't think the violence is necessarily. There are more violent movies now, but I think like the stark depiction of it and the kind of cold way that Hannibal dispatches the guards is what is horrific. And then, of course, like the camera keeps cutting back to like, oh, this one guard is still alive. Amazing. They got to get him to a hospital. Oh no, he's seizing. They got to get him to a hospital. Boy, we're still paying attention to this guard in the ambulance. That seems weird. Oh no, that's Hannibal, and he cut the guard's face off and wore it as a mask. Yeah. That is genuinely spooky, even though you can kind of see it coming. It's, I think, like, one of the ways that this movie still holds up in terms of that kind of, like, chill factor is in terms of, like, just that depiction of violence isn't stylized. It isn't, and it's not also. What am I trying to say here? It isn't stylized, but that means that it's not trying to elevate it, but it's also not trying to make it like, and it's so gritty and realistic. It's like, no, it's just very stark and very like, this is what's happening. This is what happened. And that makes it loom large, I think, in my brain. I've used that phrase twice today. That's, God.
Yeah, I wonder, too, if it's partially that we don't really see Hannibal move a whole lot until this moment. Like, he's very much still. Not always, but, like, generally he's a very calm, collected. Then he moves very quickly in here. But also, there's this, as the trope has evolved over time, we often get the villain, this master villain, high class, intelligent killer trope, whatever, where the villain is also, like, kind of superhuman.
Yeah.
Not, like, literally, but, like, you get the sense that they're like, oh, they've been training, they're super fast and whatever. He's not.
Yeah.
He just takes advantage of them not paying attention because they're just kind of used to it now, right? Because we get into these habits that we don't really pay attention to. And they did that. And it feels more real because he's not, like, suddenly way stronger than we expected him to be, and like
Yeah.
there's
Well,
I appreciate that they have made it in a way that it is very believable, I
yeah.
guess.
Yeah. Well, it's also interesting because, like, this is in stark contrast to the book. Hannibal is a very, like, unassuming figure in the movie.
Hmm.
In the book, he has 6 fingers on one hand and maroon eyes, and also
Mm,
they don't call him, like, freakishly strong, but they do call attention to the fact that it's like, boy, this guy's real strong. Um,
yeah.
which is like a weird, like, making your villain more having like the trope of like the red right hand. They have like a dead giveaway that there is something evil and sinister about them,
Mm,
by some
yeah.
sort of like disfigurement or physical difference.
Mm,
And then on top of that, like, oh, he's a brilliant mind and he's like crazy strong. And
yeah.
Hannibal in this is like, he's fit. He can clearly do certain feats of strength, but nothing crazy out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that about this movie. And it's something that I think the other movies lose sight of in the kind of like, he becomes a supervillain in the
Mm,
other movies.
yeah.
Whereas in this, it is very, I've just decried the use of the word grounded, but I'm going to say it is very grounded. It's very normal here.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. And I think that's part of like this being a procedural more than an outright attempt at being a horror movie. You know,
Hmm.
it's a scary procedural. It's focused on the investigation, and it has these digressions into scary moments, but it's not about jump scares or shocking the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I do I imagine seeing this in theaters, particularly for the scenes that are way super close up.
yeah,
That would have been an
yeah,
experience.
yeah,
Just seeing Anthony Hopkins at like 15 feet high,
yeah,
just staring into your soul.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. That would have been
15 foot,
that would have been a jump scare in and of
15
itself.
foot high Anthony Hopkins saying "Quid pro quo, Clarice."
It is unnerving how well you do that. Oh, goodness me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think maybe our kind of like we've been kind of talking a little bit about like elevated horror here.
Hmm.
I guess like is this technically a horror movie? I would call it. I think I've just made a case that I think of it more of as a procedural,
Yeah.
a thriller. But it definitely sets the stage for a lot of elevated, air quotes, elevated horror,
Hmm.
especially like today, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny you say that because one of the spoilers, when we talk about our recommended things, one of the things that I mentioned is the TV show Prodigal Son,
Yeah.
which is a procedural crime drama that features this elevated killer.
Yeah.
I know I also mentioned Raymond in Blacklist, which is
Yeah.
the elevated criminal, also a procedural. So, I think there's an argument to be made that much like a lot of the older movies where I said this in the Matrix episode, they can be a lot of things.
Yeah.
And this is maybe both. I don't know if I would say that it's not a horror movie, but I wouldn't put it in. It would straddle the boxes, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's there are a couple things that you could call a jump scare, I suppose. But yeah.
Of a kind,
Yeah.
but yeah,
It's more just like creating a sinister feeling. And
yeah,
creating tension.
maybe a thriller
Yeah, yeah.
instead of a horror.
Yeah, I think the
Yeah.
bit in Buffalo Bill's basement is spooky,
Mm.
but not because it's relying on like scares and all that. It's spooky because we're again coming back to character POV. Like Buffalo Bill's got the night vision goggles on, and so we're just watching
Yeah.
Clarice fumble in the darkness, and he's like
Mhm.
reaching out to her as though like
almost touching
Yeah,
her.
he wants to like destroy her, but he also wants to like consume her. That's
Yeah.
kind of his thing. It's so unsettling, but it's really
Yes.
effective. And I think we do get one good scare there, where she's like, it's before he shuts the lights off, but
Hmm.
she finds that tub in the basement that has like decomposed remains in it,
Oh, yeah.
and like she
Yeah.
like gasps, and then all the lights cut out. That is a
Yeah.
really good. That's a good moment.
Yeah. But again, it's not, I wouldn't call it a
Yeah,
jump scare. It's just creepy.
yeah,
And it's just another piece of the serial killer bingo card,
yeah, yeah,
like, because it's not one of his victims that we've been seeing, that we've heard about. It's probably his mother or something. I don't know.
yeah,
But yeah, it's definitely creepy, definitely scary. Still not convinced pure horror.
yeah,
I think an argument could be made either way. I I don't know.
yeah. I think like
Yeah.
my thing these days
Mm.
with horror is that once you are familiar with the tropes of horror, nothing's really like scary. Um, like
Whoa.
I used to avoid a lot of horror movies, and I think
Uh-huh.
I've gone through a phase recently where I'm playing more horror video games. I'm playing more,
Good.
watching more horror movies,
Yeah.
and I don't know if it's just because like I've had some like mental health breakthroughs on my end, but I don't find jump scares that shocking these days.
Mm.
And I'm not like, I don't know, I feel like my baseline for experiencing a horror movie is like, okay, yeah, like bring it on. And I'm just
Yeah.
not like, it's not that it's not that I don't find things unsettling, but it's
Hmm.
not like I'm living with it after,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. Like there was definitely a time in my life, especially when I was younger, where I'd be like, this is terrifying. I can't do the jump scares. I gotta watch it through my fingers.
Yeah.
Um, but now I'm just like, oh wow, yeah, that is a little scary. Huh, interesting. And I think it is just like maybe I'm just like too troped out, too familiar with like
Um,
structure. I don't know. Um,
I don't.
I really
So
don't know.
I've always been a horror fan. I
Yeah.
love horror movies. A friend of mine is a filmmaker, and I remember in high school helping out on set with a movie that he and his buddies were making, stuffing condoms with cotton balls to make guts, because it was a zombie
Yeah.
movie,
Yeah.
right? And we were, so yeah, I've always been into horror, but like, there's something about the triumph over evil, or the presence of, it's that quote of like, dragons exist so they can slay them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I love a good horror flick. They linger with me in a way, but I also just have always suffered from terrible night terrors. So like a horror movie is like
Oh.
whatever.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm just numb to it. But like I was saying before we hit record, like my husband and I watched Carrie after we watched Silence of the Lambs as like a palate cleanser, because we saw John Travolta was in it. I was like, I forget that he was in that in
Yeah.
the 70s. Let's go watch that.
Just a
That
nice
seems
light
fun.
movie.
Just a light movie to go to
unwind.
bed
Yeah.
before we go to bed.
That's so funny because the night before
Oh.
Thursday night, we're recording this on a Saturday. I watched this movie a couple times, most recently
Yeah.
on Friday before we hit record. I watched Carrie the Thursday night.
Nice.
So
Classic.
I'd never seen it before. I was like, yeah, I should probably watch this. And it was on Criterion Channel, and I was like, yeah, let's go for it.
So you watched the 70s one as well, right?
76,
Yeah,
the Brian
nice.
De Palma version.
Yeah.
Boy, that's a weird movie in some ways.
It's such a weird movie, but I
Yeah.
really want to watch it next to the other iterations, particularly because Mike Flanagan is redoing it. This is not an episode about Carrie. Halloween is coming. We're going to do a big scare month. Maybe I'll have to swap in one of my others for Carrie. But like, it, yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's a weird movie, and I love
It's a
it.
odd movie.
I don't know.
And yeah, and
Uh,
speaking of weird movies, Silence of
yeah.
the Lambs is kind of a weird one. But it's a good one, and
Yes.
it's I don't know if it's because this is our first recording after like a month, or if it's just like that we're both running on lack of sleep for very different reasons. Or if it's just that like this movie kind of leaves it all on the table. But
Yeah.
it's weirdly a tough one to talk about because I think
Hmm.
a lot of the most fascinating things wind up being like the kind of like psychosexual themes.
Yeah.
And wind up like a lot of the stuff that might be most ripe for analysis we're just not really equipped for just by
Yeah.
virtue of who we are. And there's a lot to say about this movie.
Hmm.
But I think you and I are probably retreading some well-worn ground and like
Oh,
movie
for
good,
sure.
movie good,
Movie good, and I think too. Like, I mean, our shtick,
yeah,
dear listener, is that we love movies,
yeah,
and we like to talk about movies we like, and we like this movie, and a lot of them we can talk ad nauseum about, like the camera angles and the cool shots and whatever, and we could do that here. But it's all because it's all tied into the stuff that we aren't necessarily
Yeah.
as equipped to handle. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes you just talk about a movie because it's cool,
Yeah.
and that's okay. And we hope you had fun. What else, Ben, would someone have fun watching if they liked Silence of the Lambs?
If you liked Silence of the Lambs and you want another feel-good movie, no, I would actually recommend another Jonathan Demme movie. Actually, I'm going to confirm that this is Jonathan Demme because I just had that moment of like, am I right? Am I correct?
I'm actually yourself.
Yeah. Did I just like inset this into my own brain? But yes, I do have it right. Another iconic Jonathan Demme movie. Stop Making Sense. This is probably like the most influential and iconic concert film with the band Talking Heads. If you've ever seen David Byrne's Big Suit, it's from that movie, and it's a really incredible sort of movie, but also just like good music. Like the album is worth listening to. What would you recommend, Farrah?
I would recommend 1 Hour Photo with Robin Williams because their use of perspective mimics this in a way, or at least is familiar of it. I don't know if they're actively mimicking it, but very creepy. Highly recommend. Some very heavy themes, so be warned. But it is kind of a horror movie featuring Robin Williams, and I mean, you know, that man can act. So, you know, who else can act? Us. No, I don't know. Me. But you can find us at Patreon as Coffee and Kurosawa. That was the worst bridge I've ever done. You can find us at Patreon as Coffee and Kurosawa. You can also find us on Blue Sky and Instagram as Coffee Kurosawa Pod. You can find me on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Letterboxd as Farrah Sarpkaya, where I also maintain a list of all of the movies that we have watched, and at sarpkaya.ca, where I lend my voice as a voice actor. Ben, where can the people find you?
I am on Blue Sky as at the Benjamon and on Letterboxd as at Benjamon. And I think with that, we're at the conclusion, and I have to find a fun way to conclude this.
Quid pro quo?
Quid pro quo. Quid pro quo? Or
have the lambs stopped screaming?
Well, I think the lambs are silent now. And well, I think we kind of have to. I think both you and I have to get going because hey, I'm having an old friend for dinner. I don't know. That's all I got.
Nice. That's a good one. I like that one.